Now, before you start tape 2, I hope that you've mastered tape 1. In other words, it's very important to have went through tape 1 because it shows us the basics. Now, we have already learned that with one stick, it is just as deadly. In other words, it can hurt, it can be an efficient weapon. The advantages of 2 sticks is now that we have to coordinate both sides of the body. The beautiful thing about using 2 sticks is, while your opponent only has one, while he makes a strike or something, we can block and strike at the same time. An example of this can be shown here. In other words, I just block, parry, and then I strike at the same time. This is the advantage of the double sticks. The single stick is deadly, the double stick is twice as deadly. Now, it is very important to follow the basics of tape 1. You must know the basic movements. In tape 1, you learn to make a certain strike. In tape 2 now, we're going to learn how to use double strikes. It's the same basic thing. We're not going to go or emphasize the grip or anything else, which is very important. We've already covered that in tape 1. That's why it is very important that you follow tape 1. Again, at any time that you think you're having any problems, review your tapes. If you have to go to tape 1, go back to tape 1. Because now that is where the terminology came from, and a lot of times I'll say terminology in tape 2. If you didn't go to tape 1, you won't understand it. So we're not going to go into a lot of the basics, we're going to go straight into the nitty-gritty. The advantages of the 2 sticks is, again, while he makes an attack, we can block and at the same time strike. And this is what you're going to learn. No matter what he does, the advantage is that I can now block and strike at the same time, which makes it a lot easier to work with. You see? And so this is the thing. Again, follow us, review, replay, put it in slow motion. Some of these scenes will be in slow motion, so it gives you an advantage to look at them over again in slow motion on your own video machine. But anytime you don't understand anything, do not go on. Go back. If you have to, review tape 1. That is the essentials. We taught you the basics. We want you to learn. We don't want you to go if you don't understand. Now let's go into review of the proper striking techniques. In tape 1, we showed you to strike basically with the tip of the weapon and not the shaft. It's the same thing that we'll do here. Here, if you hit with the shaft, you don't get as much power. There are times you might have to hit with it. The main thing is you want to hit with the tip, not the shaft. Now we'll demonstrate here, hitting with the whole shaft. In other words, the energy is distributed along the whole shaft so you don't get any penetration. We'll try it one more time. Notice how the piece of paper just moves. Now, if we strike with the tip, using wrist action, momentum of the body, hip rotation, and hitting basically with the tip like we would in karate, using the top 2 knuckles or a chop, or with the edge of the hand, we can put all that energy in the tip of the weapon. Here we're concentrating on the tip. Notice what happens. We concentrate all that energy at the tip. This is what you want to do with the stick. One more time. Watch the tip. See that energy? Now, if I hit with the whole shaft, the energy is distributed along the whole shaft. It pushes the paper. When I go to the tip, just like a dum-dum, a hollow point bullet. A high velocity hollow point bullet. Energy is distributed to the tip. Watch the wrist action. It snaps just like a whip. Tremendous velocity. Now, striking and blocking combinations. As with any self-defense technique or martial art, you have to learn to defend. So here when we go into the double sticks, we go into the basic techniques again. The lower right position, the hip position, the left hip position, the upper right and upper left positions. Any of the basic techniques that you learned in basic tape 1 are the same here. Here you can see we're in these basic position here. Lower right, we can thrust. Lower hip. This is our first position, low. Now watch how easy it is to thrust. So keep both of the weapons down, and we can bring them up very easy. Put them into play. Stances are the same. You learn the lunge. Here the weapon is just brought into play by just raising it. Again, you hold onto the weapon like you would a hatchet or a hammer with a good strong grip, but don't choke it. To bring it into play, all I do is raise, I block with one, I thrust with the other. That's the beauty about two sticks, the double sticks. Now I put it on the high hip position for thrusting. I'm holding in both of these positions. This is our second position on the hip, ready for thrusting. Immediately it can go into play, especially for thrusting techniques or parrying techniques. Very fast. Here we parry thrust. We parry thrust. Parry thrust. The beauty about two sticks is that we can now parry and thrust at the same time. Now cross arm or left hip if I only had the right hand. So cross hip position. We're now holding them both in the cross hip. I can now slash from either side or both at the same time. These are natural positions, and you learn your double Escrima from both these positions. Parry slash, parry slash. Next position is the upper right position and upper left position. I can now come across with either side. Here I'm using a V strike, V, 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 back and forth. It's now natural. High right and high left position. There was a V strike, parry strike, working both. Watch the natural flow of the body. Still standing in that triangle stance. The next stance is cross arm high. Just like we had cross arm low, we now have cross arm high. Again, we can strike with both weapons or one weapon. Even though it looks like we're tied up, we're not, because we can strike from either side. Again, the triangle stance. Parry slash, parry slash, parry slash. These won't be your only techniques, we'll show you several. Notice once I block, I can strike at the same time. Natural flow. Parry slash. Striking a target of opportunity. When you try this, experiment a little bit. Try the number of techniques that you can or cannot use effectively. Now, the forward guard position. The right hand is in the forward, the left is on the left hip position. Forward guard position. Right hand is in the forward guard, the left is toward the left hip thrust position. Here I'm making lunges. Parrying with the left, even though you don't see it. Parry and thrust at the same time. Moving in a forward stance or lunge stance. This is our sixth guard. Our sixth guard is the forward fencing position, which is the right hand now. Now, notice the left hand can parry low left, parry low left, at the same time thrust, low left thrust, low left thrust. This is a natural, easy position. Working both weapons at the same time. And then strikes, you see, block low left and same time thrust. Notice I'm in a lunge position. Sometimes thrusting, sometimes slashing. Here I use the left hand to parry. High left, spike up. Spike up because the blade is up, or the stick is up. So I block high, same time I make my lunge or thrust. Notice I get in lunge position and I recover. There we go. Left high spike. I could still continue with the left and strike at my opponent if I wanted to. Striking with both weapons if necessary. Here what I do is I now hold it in a low right position, my forward weapon. I now bring it in the spike up, parrying to the side and thrusting with the left. As you can see, the combinations are endless. Once you learn these basic techniques, you will create for yourself. You will begin to experiment and find the numerous, unlimited ways that you can vary your techniques. Here again, we watch the simplicity of motion, where all I do is just bring that right weapon up, spike up, where I can thrust. Same time thrusting with the left. Here we make an overhead block, right overhead block, and the same time strike. The left hand naturally can be used for thrusting, blocking, parrying. Both weapons can be used for blocking, striking, or parrying. The overhead block with continuous flow. Block, strike, block, thrust. Triangle stance. Here a left high fender, striking, thrusting. Left high fender with the right hand. Natural flow into a lunge stance. At first you may never get this power. You might not get this velocity where you can break wind. After a while, as you get stronger, you'll start finding it more natural. Naturally, you'll be able to break wind at the beginning, but as your arm tires and everything, you'll sore, you might not be able to do it. Given enough time, you'll be able to do it continuously. Again, anytime you have any problems, replay the tape over and over until you learn these basics. These are nothing but basics. Repetition, repetition. Here you're seeing a left fender to the middle area and then a strike. In other words, remember what a left fender is. It starts from the handle to the center, it moves to the left, fending your opponent's weapon away from you. The left hand is ready to strike. Repeat these drills over and over with your partner. Increase the speed as you go along. Left fender can be seen very well in this. Again, your right hand comes across to the left center. Parry thrust. Sending your opponent's attack off to the side, at the same time thrusting. By using body motion, body English, or by footwork. Here we plow down to the right and thrust. In other words, we're meeting our opponent's weapon. We say plow down because it looks like a plow. We're knocking the weapon off to the side, and at the same time we can thrust with the same weapon. Here you parry with the right and thrust with the left. There is this crouch stance. Here we're making an overhead, and a strike. Any strike that comes overhead, whether it's a thrust or whether it is a strike, this technique is excellent for it. Once you parry, you can use any combination you want to vary them. Here we call a scissor block, just like the scissors. You're going to catch your opponent weapon overhead. He strikes down on you, you're catching it in between, throwing it off to the side, and same time striking, double strike. Striking the target of opportunity, the head, the neck, the shoulders. This is a strong block, especially if a person has a heavier weapon than you. You now have reinforced. In other words, you've got two weapons blocking against his one, whatever strikes from overhead. Catch it in between that V when you bring it up, the scissors. Just like a large pair of scissors. The same block is now pulled to your left side. As this pair of scissors, you catch his weapon in between, and then you counter strike. Again, just bring it up, catch his weapon to the side. One is ready to thrust, the other is ready to slash or strike. Catch his weapon, here I am slashing at him or striking at him. The left hand is ready to thrust. Now we practiced on the left, we do the same thing on the right. We did it overhead, we did it to the left. Now we do it to our right side, the same. As a pair of scissors, you catch his weapon. The right hand is now ready to thrust, to spike up. The left one is ready to slash. Again, you're using two against his one. A big pair of scissors to catch it. Or a plus sign. Notice that right hand is ready to thrust. Comes up into a big scissors. The left hand is ready to slash. The right hand is ready to thrust. Becomes natural. Notice I moved into a crouch stance. I went from a triangle to a crouch stance. Experiment with your stances. Stances are only transition. In other words, you're temporary, but you have to have a good foundation. Now we blocked overhead to the left, to the right. Well, the same thing down. Anything that comes low, we're going to do the same thing and block down, intercept. In other words, put your weapon in between him, cover behind it. That's the name of the game. Hide behind your weapon. That's the obstacle course. Anytime you're fighting an opponent, it's a mini war. And what you're doing is you're putting up two of these scissors, or the scissor in front of you, to catch his weapon, to make it hard for him to come at you. It's an obstacle, but it's only a temporary obstacle. Block and then attack. Place it right in between. Force is not necessary. What you're doing, you're intercepting. Now notice how the hands go back to certain positions, ready to strike back. Now this block, although it looks like a scissors block, is not. I am not catching it like a pair of scissors. I'm blocking it like I would a spike up. In other words, I'm catching it. We call it a T block because it looks like a T, but we're blocking directly to the side. You're going to have to analyze this block. The left weapon is blocking it. The right is just ready to keep it from bouncing out. The left weapon is blocking, catching the blunt of the attack. Watch. The left brings it in there, the right did not block. This is known as a T block, not a scissor block. The same thing. Again, it looks like a scissors, but it is not catching it at the V of the two weapons pointed. It's catching it basically on the right hand weapon, right to the side. This is a T block. The left weapon mainly keeps it from sliding up. Watch when our opponent attacks here. The right blocked. The left was just up there ready to strike. Here is the fan. The fan goes back and forth. Hold it like a hatchet, like a hammer, back and forth, back and forth. Don't choke it though. Do not choke the weapon. Use the wrist action. Wrist. Watch slow motion. Watch it. Watch the wrist action. Back and forth for attacking or blocking. Here's like a spade up. I'm coming back like I'm throwing, the other one comes down. We work them in unison. I'm in a crouch stance right at this moment. Striking to the head. Coming down to the head and groin. Up from the groin. Back and forth, working in unison. Can be used as a block, can be used as a strike. Very good technique for offensive. In other words, rushing in on your opponent using this technique. Here we use a horizontal strike. Hold it in low position. Coming back. Horizontal. Horizontal. Working them together. One high, one low. Now working both weapons together. Again, left, right. What you do with one hand, you can do with the other. Here it chooses a block and a strike. Chooses a block, counter strike. Block, strike with both weapons. Any combination. Horizontal, both coming from the hip position. Hip flash position, back and forth. No wasted motion whatsoever. Here, diagonal strike. Here, diagonal strike. Now, double diagonal strike. One coming up as a spade up, the other one coming down. Now we can work them together. Just be careful when you do these techniques, you don't come too close. Otherwise, you meet in midstream and smack your hands. So do these techniques slow when you first learn. 2 diagonal strikes, one down, one up. Both together, following the same path, parallel to each other. When we bring it up, it automatically blocks, and then we strike. Block, strike. This diagonal strike. When I brought it up there, we called it a spade up because it looked like I was throwing some dirt over my shoulder with a spade. The same technique on the other side. Master all different angles, all different sides, both hands. Same technique done together. Up in one of the basic positions, as you can see, up in the high position, back and forth. These are natural positions. Watch how they work together. Again, master each technique. Spade back, and then strike. Spade back, strike. Into the groin, spade back, strike. There we go, back and forth, working both. After a while, you'll no longer think, you'll just react. Here, we're up in an upper high guard position, making the same strike, which is a V strike. Strike, strike. Being able to strike with both weapons at the same time, making a V. Picking up the speed, back and forth. At first you might have problems hitting your own sticks. When you can continue this technique without smacking your own sticks, then you know you're getting it down pretty well, especially when you're doing it fast. Now you'll understand the reason why most Escrima schools or Arnis schools will start off with sticks instead of blades. Then start picking up the momentum. Blocking, striking. The technique can be continuous over and over. Simulating a block, both of them coming to a V, catching in the middle, throwing your opponent's weapon off to the side. Or we can use it against his hand. Now, 2 outside blocks right over here. Bring it right over here. In our regular drill, depending on which hand, would be a C or a crescent. The main purpose is strike, except you're using both of them. In other words, somebody's striking low at you and you're striking. You're blocking with both of these. It can also be a strike. This is nevertheless an excellent wrist exercise. Every time you fool with an Escrima stick or Arnis stick, you are getting exercise, especially in the forearms, the shoulders, the upper arm. Here I block with one, strike with the other, both going in different directions. One parries, the other strikes, blocks. Or I can hit the stick itself, blocking. Remember the draw strike? That's exactly what you're doing now, except we're doing two in unison. Draw strike, drawing, bringing it back to our hip, ready to thrust. Like a J, a big J, there it is, right back there, right back to the hip, ready to thrust. A big J. Again, it comes right back to the hip thrust position. Draw, strike. Draw, strike. It can be used as a block or a strike. Drawing is we're just drawing it toward our own body. That's why it's called the draw strike. When you start picking up the momentum, it looks very, very efficient. Here we're trying the left circle. When we strike more than once, it becomes an umbrella. We can pick up that velocity. Now we can work them both. One becomes a forward umbrella, the other becomes a circle. So we work it together. Striking, blocking, striking, blocking, working both together. One by itself. Two of them together. One can be blocking down and striking. One comes underneath the armpit, to the outside of the armpit in this demonstration. Pick up that velocity. Now, one under the armpit, one over. Now you can see we just did a left high fender, and then we strike back with the same weapon. Left high fender, strike. If I go more than once, it now becomes a left circle umbrella. Here, right umbrella, overhand umbrella. Blocking with a high right fender, same time striking over. Now the left one comes underneath the armpit, ready to strike or parry. There's that circle on the right-hand side. An umbrella is just continuous, over and over and over. I strike one time, it's an overhand twist. If I strike more than once, it becomes an umbrella. If I draw it back, it becomes a draw cut. Some of these techniques, as you can see, overlap each other. They can be called several different things depending on what stage you're catching it at. This now becomes a draw cut as soon as I bring it to the hip. Comes a high fender. Here we have the fan, vertical fan, back and forth. Stand in triangle stance so I don't hit my own leg. Here you parry with a spade up, same time striking down. Here in a squat stance.
Here the horizontal fan again, working it from different positions, high angle, low angles, middle angles. It's got those 3 areas of attack, high, middle, low. 3 areas of attack, high, middle, low. Head, striking against the head, the chest area, the leg area. And it can vary back and forth as blocks or as strikes. One on top of the other, you can vary it also back and forth. Parrying, striking, parrying, striking to any area. Go to target of opportunity. Hand, remember, anytime you can hit the weapon hand, that is priority number 1. Disarm the person, and it ends the fight in 99% of the cases. Diagonal fan. Back and forth, back and forth. Pick up the velocity. Again, build this up. In Escrima, as in all the other martial arts, there are no advanced techniques. What there are is different grades of proficiency. In other words, the longer somebody has been at it, or the harder someone trains, the better they become. So as I said before, many of these techniques may look advanced. They are not advanced techniques. They are basic techniques. It's just the person who has been at it the longest makes it look easier. Here the diagonal fan again on the opposite side, striking back and forth. Now sometimes you find out that your weak side doesn't feel natural. We recommend that if you are right-handed and your left side feels weaker, that you might want to do more repetitions on your left side or your weak side, whatever it is. In other words, do the exercise a little bit more on that side. Sometimes you might offset it by using a heavier weapon on that side. The natural thing to do is to use a weaker weapon on that side. But don't baby it. The thing is, make it work for you. Now, what we've got to understand is stick angles and special training drills. In other words, to get the advantage of position. Here, the first thing we're going to teach is to cover behind the weapon. If I hold the weapon up, in this case, I'm just holding him parallel to my body, holding him up. If he makes horizontal strikes, the weapon are in the way, so this is known as cover behind the weapon. So I want to stay behind my weapon so that when he makes a strike or anything like this, all I do, as long as my weapon's out far enough in front, he will not be able to come through it. In this case, we're using a scissors block from the top. When he strikes from the side, it now becomes a T block. Now, depending on where he comes, toward the center, up, or anything else, I just hold the weapon in that way. In other words, here, a low block, using the scissors. Now we're using a T block when he comes up from the side. Now, depending on what angle he comes, I just turn the weapon slightly to hide behind the weapon. Now we do the same technique here. The difference is that I'm now holding them, instead of in a scissor block, I'm now holding them parallel to each other and hiding behind the weapon. Again, he makes horizontal strikes he cannot complete because the weapon's in the way. So he has to come around the weapon to strike at me. This is the same thing as a boxer when he holds both arms up. He tries to keep those blows away from him. Now, when I hold a single weapon in front of me, I do the same thing. If he strikes from that side, I hide. Watch how I shift the body slightly. I'm hiding behind the weapon. Again, this is known as covering. Covering behind the weapon. So all I do is just cover behind it. When I have two weapons, it's easier to cover behind both of them. When the weapon is being held up, they are now called guards. They are up there for a purpose. They are guarding you, and that's why they're called guards. So the forward hand is held in a forward guard. The left hand is toward the left hip guard, thrust guard. Notice again, I angle depending on how he makes his attack. I hide behind the weapon. Sometimes left weapon, right weapon, depending on what he strikes with. Again, that's covering behind the weapon. So it is very important to learn to cover. So all I do is shift the weight and move the weapon in front of me. And I hide behind the weapon, no matter how he makes his attack. This is only to demonstrate covering. Now, these are drills. We meet. I strike his weapon. In reality, I would strike his hand to disarm him. For training, we will have to strike the weapon. We're only demonstrating against the hand because in reality, there's where I'd go. So now this is meeting. We meet his weapon to block against it. This drill is mainly used to develop coordination. So now I strike with the left, the right. We're now interchanging. We stand in a parallel stance. We don't move the legs when we first learn any drill. So we're meeting each other. Hit with the upper portion. You see the red mark in the center? Hit with the upper portion. When you start hitting down close to the hand, you're getting too close to his hand. So use the upper portion. Here we go. Now, I want to lead with the leading hand. We're still standing parallel. We're striking right, left. Now notice I put the lead. I want to strike. I now switch my position into a triangle stance. When my right hand hits, my right foot is forward. When my left hand hits, my left foot is forward. Whatever I strike with, I want that hand to move. Whatever weapon. Now I'm going into the squat stance. As I squat, my opponent squats. The same thing, shifting weight, using momentum of the body. We're still using those same two strikes. Now you want to learn to kneel, to fight from a kneeling position. So we're still meeting the same attack, right, left, my right against his right. Now we use the cross stance. You're learning how to shift your body now, stepping across your own body. Do this drill slow, then start picking up the momentum. We're still striking, right against right, left against left. We're meeting each other. Now we're walking and running drill. And ours is shifted where I can move. The same drill taken from the back and the front. Notice how I hit right, left against the same. Now, the foot that I want to strike with, or the hand that I strike with, the foot moves forward. This is learning to shift my body. The preferred method is with the hand that strikes forward. I want that reach. Now I go into squat stance, learning to shift the body right and left. Now the kneeling. The same basic exercise. We're meeting each other. Left against right, left against left, right against right. Now the cross stance, learning to step across. This is getting our footwork. This drill is called meet. Left, right, left, right. Another drill. We would be striking again to the hand. That's our first target. For training purposes, we will hit the stick, the upper portion of the stick against the upper portion. Now, this is known as a V. We're meeting, VV. Notice we strike. We're meeting each other. We return with the same hand. Now the left does the same thing. The right. Left. Right. Left. Right. Do this slow with your partner. Start picking up the speed as you start getting. Now that teaches us stationary. Once you start getting the basic technique down, meeting each other using a V, you want to be able to step. In other words, if I strike with the right hand, I want the right foot forward. Watch the footwork and the hand motion. This is the second stage. The third stage is now the same thing. We're using the VV, striking and meeting, but we're moving the squat stance, learning the body shift from right to left. Once we get the squat stance, then we want to learn our kneeling stance. Here we're leaning. Now the cross stance, stepping behind, getting our footwork. Again, we're meeting our opponent. Now walking, in other words, being able to travel. You step forward, behind. By playing with this, you'll get tremendous footwork. The next technique is known as high-low, high-low. We strike high, then we strike low. Notice we're meeting each other, striking. In reality, I would go for the hand, then the leg. Hand, leg. For training, we're going stick, stick. But the training is to strike high and then go low. Now we strike with the right hand, then the left. We're in our stationary position when we first learn this. This is stage one. High, low, meeting, high, low, meeting. The preferred method is to strike with the weapon hand and the leading foot. Every time I strike with the right foot's forward. The left foot's forward. My partner is doing the same thing. This is so we can get our leading foot and hand forward. Then we move into the squat. High, low. Meeting each other, same time shifting the body. That's the third stage. The fourth is moving into the kneeling. Again, repetition, doing the same drills from different positions. Once we learn the kneeling, teaches us how to fight from a low position to a high position. We go to the cross stance, stepping behind. Same thing, going high, low, meeting our opponent's weapon, head on. Then we learn the running drill, in other words, walking, be able to shift from left to right. High, low, stationary, high, low, with the leading foot forward. High, low from the squat stance. Partner doing the same thing. The third stage, the fourth stage, going to the kneeling position, going high, low. The fifth stage, cross stance, going the direct opposite of your partner. And the running drill, just going free all the way around. Circling your opponent and the opponent circling you, using various footwork. The next drill is what we call wrap. In other words, we're striking with one and following right behind it. The first one would deflect your opponent's weapon, the second one to strike at him. So one slash or one strike is right directly behind the other. When you actually do this drill, it'll sound wrap. So it's called the wrap drill. One weapon behind the other, striking each other. Now don't hold them too close together. You want it to follow with a sweeping action. Normally this would be done a little bit more horizontal, but if you did this, you'd be hitting each other, so you have to come at a slight diagonal. Again, we did that same drill. Notice that we now move into what? We're now moving into the squat. Now the kneeling. Wrap, wrap, one behind the other. Now the cross stance. Now the running drill, in other words, circling the opponent where we can move, transfer. Now parallel, not moving. Now the cross stance. Squat stance, moving back and forth. Kneeling stance, coming one weapon behind the other, striking. Using body English. More proficient you are, more body English. Saves on energy. Gives you tremendous power from kneeling stance. The next technique is called the double strike. We're hitting with both sticks at the same time. Here it looks like tit-tat-toe. And as I block with one, I strike his hand with the other. For training purposes, we'll be striking both sticks at the same time. High and one low. One to a stick, one to the hand. But when we're training with both sticks, we'll hit stick to stick. Now both sticks are hitting. Again, remember, the drill would be one hand would be hitting your opponent's stick, the other his hand. But in training, both are hitting each other, looking like tit-tat-toe in the middle. Now we move the forward foot, forward hand. Since you're holding in both, it makes no difference, but you still do the drill. Switching your position so that you can get your footwork. Now you're going to get your angling. That's where you use your squat stance, leaning side to side. Now your kneeling position. Going through that same range of motion. Learning to kneel, switch position while you're in the kneeling position. This is good drill again. Now the cross stance as you make your double strikes and cross stance. Now the walking motion or running motion, which is circling your opponent. Now the same drill here, just to show you from a different angle. Now we're using that footwork, leaning into it, forward. Now kneeling. Now cross step from behind. Beginning with double strike. Now the running drill, moving from side, back, forward. Changing positions, kneeling. After you start doing this, you start picking up the momentum. You start picking and you start changing the stances without any. This technique now is known as crossover double strike. And as we did this, we're doing the same strike we did last time. The only difference is we're crossing our arms. Notice my arms, they're now crossed. But I'm doing the same strike. They're both double strikes. The only thing is I'm crossing over my hand. So the drill starts off again the same way. Notice the tit-tat-toe mark. Tic-tac-toe mark, same thing. They cross, strike, from parallel stance or immobile. Now I start leaning forward. My arms are crossed, my opponent's is crossed. It's just a variance of the double strike. Now we go into the squat stance. The same thing, squat. That way we don't leave anything out. Then we go into the kneeling, the changeover. Changeover another time, just get the idea that you can do it. Now we do the crossover stance. Now the walking motion where I can change position at will. Double striking my opponent's weapon, crossing over my hands, using body English, using the squat stance to the kneeling, switch over, switched over again, cross stance, then moving to different positions again, starting to pick up the momentum to any position. Next technique is the parry and thrust. By holding the weapon low, it's very easy to come up underneath your opponent. Now, we parry with our left. The left is our parry weapon, the right is our thrust. Now, we're using a bamboo drill again. We're leaning forward, back, forward, back. When I move back, it gives me a chance. When I lean back, it gives me a chance to pull away from his blade. Same time, I can block to the left. The same technique is used for kneeling or any other position in the squat stance. This is known as the bamboo drill. Anytime you use double weapons, you have the choice of parrying and thrusting at the same time. Here I'm blocking to the outside with the left weapon and thrusting with the right. Lean forward in the thrust, lean back when he attacks. That little lean that I do there gives me an extra foot. In other words, I'm pulling away from his weapon. First I blocked to the center area, now I'm blocking low. My opponent does the same thing. This way we're both getting this reflex drill. Again, remember to be very careful where you thrust. When you're training with sticks like this, be very careful not to go toward the face. Here I use a spade back, blocking back with the right, thrusting with the left. After training this method, you can also reach out a little farther. Notice each time I lean back, that gives me an extra foot to pull away from my opponent. Now I'm cross blocking. I'm bringing the left hand across my body toward the center. Parry, thrust, forward and back. Now we're varying it, attacking low, high, parrying high, cross, to the right, down. Here a low hanger toward the front. Again, you can experiment with any of these techniques. You can pick up the momentum. The more proficient you are, the faster you become. The more you practice, the faster, more fluid you become. Again, trying from the lunge stance, trying from a high stance, sometimes to the squat, sometimes to the kneeling. Now, the cross stance. Learn to practice from the cross stance. Here we're making a double strike. 1, 2 when we come to the parallel stance. Strike, parallel stance, we're making a V. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a 4 count movement. 1, 2, 3, 4. And just pick up the momentum. Learning our cross stance as we do this. And start picking up the pace. It teaches us our footwork and at the same time our body angling in our walking stance. Now we walk all the way around. Footsteps in front and back, forward, back, and all the way across. Then it becomes a free drill. The next movement will be solo, how to practice by yourself. If you don't have a partner, you're still going to have to practice by yourself. So here we parry, we thrust, parry and thrust. In this technique, we're trying to learn the lunge, the forward to the reverse, in the fastest possible time. Now we go forward 4 directions. Now we're going diagonally into 8 directions. Each time a new technique. Diagonally and forward. That teaches us to attack in 8 directions. Here we're doing the squat stance. Locking, moving off to the side, and blocking and striking at the same time. Toward the front by moving right and left. Now, since we don't always have a partner, we're going to have to do this by ourselves. Again, notice that we block high and go low. When practicing by ourselves with an imaginary opponent, we move forward, left, right. Now we go forward, back. Now we go diagonally. Diagonally again, blocking high, to the right, left, forward, back, diagonally, diagonally, high, low, blocking and striking at the same time, going in the 8 directions. The third exercise we'll do here, we're moving to the right front, striking diagonally, blocking and slashing. If we had a blade, it would be a slash. For the stick, it's a strike. So now we move diagonally, blocking and striking, blocking and striking. Now we go forward, back, right, left. We're going here diagonally. Same technique. Hitting those 8 directions, forward and back, left, right, diagonally. These are solo drills, practicing by ourselves. The next is in the back stance, blocking high and going low. Blocking high, going low. Similar to the squat stance, except the emphasis is we're stepping away from them and we're blocking down and high. Again, toward the rear, toward the rear. Rear, rear. Stepping away, rear, rear. Moving in the 8 directions. The same technique over and over. Moving in 8 directions. No matter where he attacks from, you should be able to move into it. Blocking high, low. Or striking high, low. Whatever your interpretation. Now, what we're doing here is an 8 striking technique, going in 8 directions. Here we do a squat, blocking high and low, a thrust to the front and rear, a slash, down block, squat, thrust, slash, back, back. Same thing over and over. 8 directions. Now just the reverse of it. Thrust, slash at 45. Down block. Same thing. Squat, thrust, diagonal, striking down. 8 directions, 4 different tactics or techniques. Now you've got to be able to hit a target. Here I have a dummy. Using both weapons, trying different techniques from V slashes, horizontal. Do not hold the weapon too loose, it'll bounce right back. Get enthused. Be happy in your work. Work different combinations. Learn to move around. Use your footwork. Notice how the hand comes back to those certain positions. Higher right, left. Going right back to those same basic positions to get momentum. The body is flexible where it can move, going high, low, striking, different angles of attack. Stepping across stance. Using body momentum. Going to different target areas, to the head, to the throat, to the neck. If you had a blade, you'd be cutting the target. Now, sparring with full contact equipment. If you have the equipment, use it. There are other types of defensive armor you can use. This is the kendo type. The salute, courtesy, respect, the on guard. Remember, you are experimenting in this. Notice the speed, the flexibility. Striking, blocking and striking at the same time. Be flexible, move around, experiment, V-cuts, V-cut. Thrust. All this is found in your basics. The feint to the leg, hitting the leg. Left hand, spike up. V-cuts. Hand, cross-arm guard, striking. Same thing, double V. Hands out, protecting. Remember, cover behind the weapon. Hard for your opponent to strike you while covering behind the weapon. Sometimes he gets through. Here you experiment. Keep your weapon to protect you. The lunge. Both guards are parallel guards. Blocking with one and striking. Keep your whole opponent in view. When you strike, reach out after him. Don't shortcut it. Don't cut it short. Reach out there. Try not to make unnecessary moves if at all possible. Again, going low. Changing the stance, switching, left hand forward, cross arm block, or guard. Experiment your slash, going for the hand. Go for the weapon hand. That's the first thing we're trying to do. Strike out after. Reach out after. Strike again to the weapon hand. Cut the hand off and he has no weapon. If you can take away one weapon, then you have two against one. One low guard, one high guard. One basic on guard, the other one low. Any combination of guards. Here two parallel, one high right. Easy to slash from that high guard. Vary them. Change your guards. Look at the whole opponent. Techniques here are basic techniques, basic stances, proven stances. Again, you don't stay in any stance, you move from one stance to the other. The good thing about these weapons that we're using right now is that they have the weight of a real weapon. It's rattan covered with foam. So they're heavy, they're hard to move. But in reality, a real blade or a real stick would be heavy like this also. After you find out your basic techniques, then experiment. Go out there, try things. If you get hit, that's where you're going to learn. You're going to learn what works, what doesn't work. Practice makes perfect. Again, that strike to the leg. Keep basic guards. Experiment. The triangle stance is outstanding. It gives you quick forward movement if you have to move forward. High-low guard. One for thrusting, the other one ready to jam up. The beautiful thing about Escrima or Arnis is the fast movement. It gives you little time for reflex. You've got to be fast. You've got to be able to watch your opponent. Keep your eye on him. If you don't, he can overwhelm you. Attack should be varied. Keep your opponent off balance. Escrima vision is looking at your opponent, seeing him make a mistake and taking advantage of it. Here I dropped to my knee and my opponent took advantage and hit me on the head. Again, you find out your good points and bad points when you're sparring. You experiment. Again, the importance of kneeling stances. Many times you lose your balance, you go down, you've got to be able to recover. Again, striking at that forward right leg. Take advantage of your opponent. Those of you that are in other martial arts can combine kicks with your strikes. Again, combine kicks. In this case, I lost my one weapon. It got caught under his armpit. I used only one weapon. That's why it's important to learn. Block parry with the left hand. Learn to recover your weapon. Every time you lose your weapon, you're going to have to use one hand, two legs, one weapon. Again, this is why it's important to learn solo, single weapon, in case you only have one weapon against somebody that has two. Again, at the end of any bout, salute. Now, forms. Forms are when you have no one to practice with, and you go through prearranged techniques against an imaginary opponent, teaching you basic techniques. Here, the double stick, the salute. Here, the cincoteros, 5 basic strikes and thrusts. Working double, using the same cincotero except horizontal and vertically. V strikes, the fan, going forward and back, the cross block or scissor block, Same thing, going to the left, then to the right, the same technique. Striking down in the back stance and striking down. Being able to use the right and the left just as equal, proficient. Making the circle. Forms build up your endurance, making you go to a set routine. Learning new techniques or practicing the same technique over and over again from the kneeling position. Equally just as well with the left as you are with the right. Using body momentum, going in different angles of attack. It makes you work. Some schools don't like forms. Some schools live by forms. Again, watch the form, learn it, and get yourself down to perfection. At first you might want to do it slow. You do it 10 times slow, 1 time fast. Later on you'll start doing it more times fast. But always learn a form very slow at first and start picking up the momentum. Remember, you're going against imaginary opponents from different directions or angles of attack. Ensure that you keep your balance. Hold your weapon properly. Maintain good posture. Replay this tape over and over until you start learning. Learn it in sections. Learn the first 3 moves, or 4 or 5 moves, whatever you're capable of doing. Remember, to be certified, you must learn these forms. You must learn the basic techniques that you've just learned here. Every person that ever studied Escrima had to start the same way. He had to learn basic techniques. The more he practiced, the better he got, and the easier it looked. At first you might become sore. The more you practice it, the less sore you become. This is what the form does. The form gets you in shape. At first you do it slow, then you start picking up the speed. As always, the salute at the end. The interpretation of a form. A form is against imaginary opponents. It gives you something to go, a gauge. It gives you a device to use while you have no one else to practice with. In reality, you're simulating that you're making these basic strikes against your opponent. In this case, the cinquetados, the 5 cardinal blows, diagonal. Striking diagonally across your opponent's body. And then thrusting to the center. Here we're using double cinquetado, horizontal and vertical. This teaches double coordination, being able to use the right and the left hand equally, getting just as much power in all your techniques. Here we're using the diagonal cincoteros, using double weapons. Again, when you first learn this technique, you might be hitting your own weapon several times. Once you stop hitting your weapon, then you begin to understand. You begin to know that weapon. You have more confidence in it. The fan builds tremendous wrist action. Builds up our wrist, our forearms. All these techniques build up the forearms and the wrist, and gives us a tremendous grip. When you do this form, it should be more or less a review of all the basic exercises and what you've learned at the beginning of this tape. Again, if you're still not sure, go through the beginning. Reanalyze the techniques. Here, the scissor block overhead. And double striking. Remember, your power comes from velocity, the speed in which you can attain, which you can bring your weapon. Remember how we illustrated this on a piece of paper at the beginning of this tape. Let the weapon do the work. The arm and body brings it into play, but the weapon does the work. It absorbs the shock. The weapon feels nothing. Your opponent is the one that feels pain. Here, the circle block, which becomes an umbrella if we do it more than once, over, striking the different parts of the target, from the head to the shoulders. Used as a block and a strike. Block and counter strike. Multiple strikes. Horizontal strike or fan. It can go high, it can go middle, or it can go even low. Again, watch where these strikes are taken from. In this case, from the left hip position, where I bring it straight across. Now it becomes a slash or a strike, depending whether it's a knife or whether it's a stick. Notice the body momentum, the hip rotation, blocking and striking. This is all found in that basic form we just did a while ago. We're going at a right side, right squat. Here we're going to the left rear, diagonally, blocking, thrusting, blocking, thrusting. In training, we go against the weapon. In reality, it would go against the hand. Salute, ending the form, or beginning the form. Remember, these drills are to be able to coordinate both sides of the body at the same time. To be able to strike with any hand with equal power. To be able to go in any direction. To be able to maneuver. builds endurance, stamina. It helps build your muscles. It helps you with eye coordination. It helps you to recover your stance anytime you lose your balance, to be able to recover. That's the importance of stance. You're never in any one stance too long, but you must be in a stance. A stance must be firm, depending on the terrain. On numerous occasions you've seen me slip on this slippery floor, but I've always recovered. Just think how difficult it would be out on muddy ground, wet ground, in the sand, on the side of a hill. So in reality, you want to train also in different areas, different types of terrain. Do the same form in different types of area. Sometimes wet your weapons and see if you can hold on to them, grip them under field conditions. Again, try different types of weapons, different size sticks, different lengths of sticks. A good firm grip on that weapon, like an axe or like a hammer. But do not choke it. The end salute.